One would normally hear this slogan, my body, my choice, as a feminist slogan. Not only a feminist slogan, it's the right of every individual, no matter whether you're a feminist or not, no matter you're a female or not, no matter whether you support the right of the individuals of other people, but you have to recognize your right with the person who did not respect your right and imposed his will upon you. The conjugal right of the husband to have sexuality as an obligation of the lady to be given to him. In modern societies, it's recognized that even in marriage, if there is no consent in a relationship, that's a rape. Parents decide how many children they want, and they have a right on that. So that is not taken as a major reason to stop abortion. Nobody, no family, no society, no religion has a right upon your body. They can discuss with you, they can talk with you, but it's your right. At the end of the day, you decide for yourself.
Hello everyone and welcome to the meeting with Sanal Edamaruku. I'm Shubhi Sinha, heading the youth wing of Rationalist International. We have been conducting these Zoom conferences and Clubhouse sessions for quite a few years now, and we welcome each and every one of you who is present today. Please note that in this session, our Zoom and Clubhouse will go on simultaneously. So as we move on to the question and answer round, we will take up questions from both Zoom participants as well as the participants from Clubhouse. Everybody present in this meeting, I would request you all to turn off your videos and audios for recording purposes. Only when you're talking or you're asking a question, you can switch your videos and audios both, and that would help us for our recording. And so now coming to the topic, my body, my choice, my rights. In the US, there are lots of new laws which are coming up against the right of women to have abortion. In India, for say, it is possible to choose whether you want to have the baby or you don't want to have the baby. But in US, many states have it restricted. There are a lot of demonstrations going in the US right now, which is also getting a lot of international attention. People should have the right to decide about their own body. Rights of women has always been questioned in politics, in religion, in laws. Everybody should have their right to make their own choice of their own body. So to understand more on this and to grasp a more in-depth knowledge of this, I would like to call Sanal sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Shubhi. Thank you, everyone. This topic, when it was announced, has been going along with a set of news that has been coming in the television. You know that in United States at this moment, there are a series of laws coming one by one to stop the rights of women to decide about their body, to control their choices, and to decide about, at the end of the day, their whole life. Why it is important when it comes in United States? Because we all consider United States as part of one of the major developed worlds. And there have been very progressive laws in United States at many times during many years, and much earlier than many other countries could speak about secularism, free speech. United States has been out there with the First Amendment to speak about separation of state and religion and free speech. The Constitution of the United States has been a pioneer landmark in the advancement of human freedom and human rights. Whatever United States Does as a nation now is not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about the fundamental principles. The foundation of United States was established. Well, that's not only a question of United States. We all know that in most parts of the world, the right of many individuals, especially if they belong to a gender that is not considered the predominant gender, they are discriminated against. There are laws that stops you to make your choices, your decisions about your life. What are your rights as a woman which are denied by the system? Who are stopping it? One would generally say that a government would stop it by a series of laws. For example, we see now in the United States, I've mentioned, but how many laws? There have been at least 50 new laws in different states that stops the reproductive rights of women and their rights to decide about their reproduction, when they should have and when they should decide to have a child. The right of abortion, for example, is simply denied in several different laws in the contemporary United States. It's still possible, but there's a series of laws that are coming one by one to satisfy the Christian right wing that is getting more and more vocal on their rights. And what they consider their rights is the right to control the lives of other people. Those who do not want any right, well, that's their choice. But now this small sect of people, including certain sects and cults, demand that their version of the right of people should be applied to the entire population. Let's come to that at a later stage. But being able to make our own decisions about our health, our body, and our sexual life is a basic human right. It's recognized everywhere in the civilized world that these are basic human rights. Whoever you are, wherever you live, you have the right to make these choices without fear of violence or fear of discrimination. Yet, all around the world, people are bullied, discriminated against, and arrested simply for making choices about their bodies and their lives. A woman is refused contraception because she doesn't have the husband's permission. A teenager is denied a life-saving termination because abortion is illegal in her country. A man is harassed by police because he is a gay. My body, my rights, my choice is an international campaign to stop the control and criminalization of sexuality and reproduction. So when I speak about the right of the individual, one has to simply understand that nobody else than you, no one else than you yourself has a right on your decisions about your body, about your life, about what you want to do with your life. It's a global scandal. We have to break this silence. People are afraid to speak about this topic. Why? When it comes to our bodies and relationships, our freest conversations tend to happen in our heads. Often, we keep these thoughts a secret. Perhaps it's because what we feel we can say openly is defied by the societies where we live in. These social norms are controlled by our governments, our communities, even our families, and religious leaders. When we challenge those norms, we feel guilty, embarrassed. We fear being stigmatized, even jailed. And because of this, we keep silent. There is something going on in our brain. We don't want to speak about it. We are simply afraid. So when we speak about my body, my rights, and my choice, we want to help people to break this silence. And we have to tell people that they don't have to be afraid to think. They don't have to be afraid to decide about their life. They don't have to be afraid about their families. They don't have to be afraid about their societies. They don't have to be afraid about their religious leaders or the society around you, which wants to stigmatize you when you want to speak or when you want to do something that they don't consider right for you. But it's you who would decide what you want to do with your life. And whatever you do, in matters of your personal choices in your life, is nobody else's business but your business. This is a fundamental human right, and that is what we are trying to insist, that it's our right and that has to be respected by the societies everywhere. Let's see what's the history of this movement, of my life, my choice. This was something like 2002, a 17-year-old girl, Latasha Cannon. She simply died. Before her death, Cannon was living as a Child Protective Services funded group, and she was a part of a commercially, sexually exploited people. And she was saved and she was in control. Boston's leaders in the United States came together and discovered that this was not an isolated incident, and it was just in one in many cases. And she was fighting against her rights to be sexually exploited and to get an abortion, which she got out of that. And she did not survive. That was the key point where such a movement has got new momentum and it became a big international movement. One would normally hear the slogan, "My body, my choice," as a feminist slogan. Well, body autonomy is part of a feminist slogan, but not only a feminist slogan. It's the right of every individual, no matter whether you're a feminist or not, no matter you're a female or not, no matter whether you support the right of the individuals of other people, but you have to recognize your right to decide about your body is the key of the whole thing. Nobody else has the right to decide about your body. The body autonomy is the terminology that we would like to insist upon. Every single person has absolute autonomy with one's body. Whether you want to pierce your ears, it's your right. Whether you have to circumcise or not, it's your right to decide. But in most of the cases, we all know that the right of your body that you have is denied by the religion. For example, if you're born in a Muslim family, your phallic organ is mutilated with a circumcision without your decision, without your choice. You have no right. We would insist that a person has a right to go for circumcision if he wants when he's an adult. But the right of the individual, the body is right, the right on my own right on my body is denied when I am forced to undergo circumcision. One has to also understand that in many parts of the world, there is female genital mutilation happening in several countries. In countries where these are not officially seen or officially not marked anywhere, there are a lot of stories brought out by investigative journalists that it still happens. In countries like Nigeria, in Egypt, in many parts of India, female genital mutilation is regularly happening. More than 20,000 victims are recognized every single year. The actual number must be several hundred times more. The genital mutilation of boys of Judaic community as well as Islamic community is also encroachment of the right of the individual to decide for themselves. Societies impose things, religions impose things. It has a wider connotation, a wider meaning when we speak about the individual's right to decide about his choice and his body and his rights. It's not only a question of reasserting the right of abortion. It's a question of our rights to be decided by ourselves. It should be determined by ourselves, not by the society, not by the religion, not by the communities, not by the governments around you. Let's come to the current issue in United States. In United States, at this moment, there are a series of laws coming from different courts, more than 50. And they all are coming one by one, stopping the right of women to decide about their termination of pregnancy if they want. And why do they want it? Because somebody is impregnated and the person does not find it fit at that moment to have a child. It's a person's right. In societies where religions have predominant influence, it's not a right of the individual in many countries because you may need the permission of your husband or community. In some countries, for example, in many countries in Latin America, you don't have a right for abortion even if you are raped, even if you know that the child is identified as a deformed child, you don't have a right. Even by a mistake, if you got aborted in many countries in Latin America, you could be punished. You could be even punished for a criminal offense, which could lead to a long imprisonment or even death penalty. One has to understand there are certain religions who insist so vehemently to stop the right of the individual to have a child or not. Take the example of Mother Teresa, who represented the Catholic Church and its interests and their views. As you all know, the Catholic Church is officially against abortion rights. Officially, they are against contraception of all sorts, except some ways they will call the control of human sexuality to have contraception. Any other artificial contraceptive measures are not allowed for the faithful person in the Catholic Church. When Mother Teresa got Nobel Prize, she spent a considerable time in her prize acceptance speech to make a discourse against abortion. And she was living in a country where population explosion is one of the major issues that the society is seriously facing. So in Latin America, where Catholic Church has enormous influence, in every single country where they have influence, they are fighting at 3 different levels against the right of people to have an abortion if they want or not. At the religious level, they are permanently preaching and advising that this is wrong. At the government level, they are trying to enact new laws. And if there are laws already existing and there are public movement against that, they would like to stop it and try to influence governments to control it. And thirdly, they would build up a sense of guilt at two levels, again, as a social mistake that you're doing, and secondly, it's a sin that you're doing. So at these four levels, the church is permanently bombarding people with their idea about abortion, because the church believes that any child that is born is God's decision, and anyone who dies is God's decision, and you don't have a right to interfere into that. The whole idea of abortion or reproductive choices, that's the correct word for that. The idea of the individual's right of self-determination over their bodies for sexual, marriage, or reproductive choices. This is what we are speaking about. So this is not just a slogan of some group of people somewhere, but this is an international movement everywhere, which insists upon the right of people to be recognized in every part of the world. And if one goes into the ground realities, you would understand very simply that more than 60% of the global population is denied formally or legally this right of their reproductive choices. You are sometimes asked to marry somebody and produce children without your will. Whether you should have child or not, if you're a female, would be decided by the families, the husband, or the communities. How many times you should deliver is decided by them. You have no right. You have no right to use a contraceptive in many societies. If you use contraceptives, it could be crime in many parts of the world. So there is a rallying cry all around the world to fight against this, to bring global attention on this point. We can go into different countries, how this whole pattern is working. Before that, I would like to bring little more light on the idea of personal, body autonomy and the bodily integrity and freedom of choice in its connection. Bodily autonomy constitutes self-determination over one's own body without external domination or duress. The integrity is the inviolability of the physical body and emphasizes the importance of personal autonomy, self-ownership, and self-determination of human beings over their own bodies. In the field of human rights, the violation of the bodily integrity of another is regarded as either unethical infringement and possibly it's a criminal activity. Freedom of choice describes an individual's opportunity and autonomy to perform an action selected from at least two available options, unconstrained by external parties. So let's come to the ground reality in countries like, for example, India or Egypt or Pakistan. You know about cases where victims of rape got impregnated, were not allowed by communities or societies to have an abortion. Even courts sometimes ask victims to marry the rapist. If a rapist agrees to marry the victim, in some societies, it's taken as the end of the crime. Imagine that situation. You have to live a whole life with the perpetrator, with the person who did not respect your right and imposed his will upon you. And that's allowed in many countries. A rape is decriminalized in many countries the moment the rapist claims that he would be willing to marry the victim. a gross violation of human rights. We know that. But the right of the individual to decide about oneself should prevail there. But the laws are allowing it in at least 32 countries. Another major aspect of the whole thing is the reproductive health of the people. It's not to be decided by other people. In many cases, why there should be abortion? One can argue, for example, if you specifically come to abortion, the moral argument against abortion could be a life is formed and it's a life and you have no right to touch it. But there is no brain developed in the early stages of a child. And there is no way that it can be stopped because it's a part of the body of somebody else. And the mother has a right to stop it if she does not want it. If she has a decision for herself not to have the child, it's she who has to decide. There cannot be any moral pressure upon her telling that this could be bad. What is right or wrong is to be decided by she herself. The only argument that one could bring about would be that one should use other contraceptives and to avoid pregnancy. And in that case, abortion would not be necessary, but still it could happen. If there is a pregnancy without your choice, if there is a pregnancy, initially you wanted and after conception, if you don't want that, who would decide you? Who would tell you that you should do it or not? The society, family, husband, or any other people, or you yourself? That's the whole question. Another question, what is your right to deal with your body? Who would decide when you should have sexuality? In many societies, the right of a woman to deny sexuality to a partner, for example, a husband, it's not recognized in many societies. In many countries, it was considered in the earlier times as the conjugal right of the husband to have sexuality as an obligation of the lady to be given to him. In modern societies, it's recognized that even in marriage, if there is no consent in a relationship, that's a rape. In countries like India, where progressive laws were coming up, recently there was a discussion going on. There was a comment coming from a court of law which would speculate whether a woman has the right to deny sexuality in marriage or a marital rape is rape or not. Even that is discussed in courts of law. There are very interesting developments happening. Things are going back in many countries. So what would we do in a situation where your rights are denied? These are the issues that we would like to focus on 2-3 different points. Number one, if your society does not accept it, you have to tell the society to change its view. You have to be open. You have to be vocal. You have to come out with your opinion without fear of any kind of humiliation. Don't be afraid of humiliation. Don't be afraid to speak out things. Don't be afraid that if you speak out your right, you would be looked down upon by other people. That's the first hindrance you have to come out of. The fear to discuss, the fear to speak out, to fear to express your views. And in societies where legally you are not allowed to have your rights upon your body, upon your choices, upon your sexual rights, upon your rights to have an abortion, you have to mobilize public opinion that the laws change. Sometimes in that process, you may have to defy your society's well-known leaders. Sometimes you have to defy your religious authorities. Sometimes you have to defy the pressure from the communities and groups around you, but you have to speak out. When you don't speak out, others don't get the courage to speak out. When the first person comes out and stand up, that will encourage a lot of other people to speak for it. We have to guarantee that the right of the individual in matters of their body, their choices, are to be simply be there. and it cannot be stopped by anybody in any situation. So is it just a question of abortion? No. It's a question of the entire spectrum of human rights. I would like to bring your attention to the efforts in United States to stop it. I mean, then you will get a clear picture about the whole thing. Across United States, there are an accelerating efforts going on two things. Number one, anti-abortion laws are passed in different states. And there are 500 abortion restrictions have introduced in 44 states in the last year. 500 restrictions already in 44 states. And in 2019, that was around 300. So there are 2-3 aspects for the whole thing. One is Planned Parenthood. Parents decide how many children they want, and they have a right on that. So that is not taken as a major reason to stop abortion. Abortion rights are stopped on several sectors, but the legislative season in shaping up one of the most hostile recent history are restrictions on the power of the control on our own bodies, is what is officially said by the Planned Parenthood organization. They are trying to bring this issue all around United States. There are demonstrations going on everywhere, but they are trying at different levels. For example, in elections, they are trying to get elected anti-abortion legislators. And during the last phase of Donald Trump, there have been a series of appointments of judges and interfere, of course, it's a right of the president or the party to interfere into the whole process. But there was a systematic effort to identify people who would stop the right of people regarding their right to reproductive rights. So anti-abortion laws are one by one being established. And now I would like to read a statement from America's one of the most active groups. We are very bold and unapologetic in our aspirations that we want to see a day in America where the most vulnerable among us are protected. This is from the abortion right movement's leaders' statement. The ultimate goal of the movement for the right of people is now jeopardized, and that's controlled at every single state in the United States. Motivated by Justice Amy Coney Barrett's appointment as the 6th conservative vote on the Supreme Court and President Joe Biden's sweeping rollback of Trump-era anti-abortion efforts, state legislators have already passed a wave of laws this year aimed at giving Supreme Court the opportunity to append its landmark decision. That's the situation now. So how would we change things in the United States? The only way is bringing out public opinion to show that you are not accepting this. So there are demonstrations every weekend in different parts of the United States now going on for re-establishing the right of abortion and the right of choice. The choice of the individual to decide about their rights. Now, what does it mean when there are abortion bans? If a woman still wants to get an abortion, even when they are legally restricted, is it possible? Where legal abortion care is unavailable, women are forced to turn to unsafe options. That's the whole problem. When there is no abortion legally available, people would still want abortion. They would go for illegal ways, which are not protected by law, which are not effectively done. So there'll be more and more victims of unauthorized abortion. If you want an abortion, whether you're permitted or not, you would go for it. Even in societies where abortion is absolutely illegal, there are efforts to get people about it. If I don't want a child, if I don't want a pregnancy, I would like to stop in whatever way I have. And that is why in every civilized society, this is provided legally and safely. It's like banning alcohol. If you consider alcohol is bad for people and somebody feels on their idea about morality, alcohol is bad. And if they try to stop alcohol, well, whether that is correct or not is another question, but purely pragmatic structures I'm speaking about. What would happen would be illicit alcohol getting distributed everywhere. There won't be any more safe alcohol possible. Wherever it was tried, it was a failure. In India, it was tried in some states. In Gujarat, it was tried. And we started hearing a lot of cases about illicit alcohol deaths. In Russia, it was tried. Before Russian Revolution, one of the reasons for the Russian Revolution, many people explain, was the dissent among the army men because the alcohol was stopped, because they got completely berserk with the excess alcohol in some earlier wars. And the Tsars decided to stop alcohol. The moment it was banned, people started brewing their own alcohol. They started making their own alcohol, which was not only unhealthy, but sometimes can be very dangerous. That's the same case with abortion. If you don't allow people to have legal and well-protected abortion, they would go for it. And that would be dangerous for them as well as for other people. So purely on the pragmatic side also, I mean, it's not possible. People are getting about it, even when the laws are stopping it. Then the third question is, why would societies insist upon such things? We have religious laws that follows people, and they want these religious laws to be implemented. In Latin America, there are very famous case of a girl who got raped and got pregnant, and she tried to get a legal abortion. That's a very famous case in Brazil. And when she tried for a legal abortion, it was not allowed because she has no right for an abortion. But by a coincidence, the pregnancy got aborted by itself. She was arrested, alleging that she tried to abort the child, and that was a crime. And she was imprisoned for a long 16 years, just for a natural abortion that happened. In India, if you are an adult, you have a right for abortion. If you're not an adult, you need your parents' permission to get an abortion done. But even if it's for health reason, it's not allowed in some countries. So let's come to the other side of the whole thing. The right of the individual to have sexual rights is restricted in societies where such laws are existing. In the United States, no, it's not banned. But in many societies, what age you can marry, what age you can have sexual relationship, and whether you can have sexual relationship of your choice is controlled by laws, again by society, again by religion, again by communities, and you have no choice on that. Should that be the right of the individual to decide about that? The whole question of my body, my right, my choice comes to a wide spectrum of things. We come to that with the point of abortion as the major issue coming up in the contemporary news, but it goes to the right of the people to have the kind of sexuality that they have, the orientation of sexual relations that they would like to have, and the right of consent and the right to reject, even in a marriage, the right of the other party to have sexuality without your consent. So this is a wide spectrum, where we insist upon two things only. The individual decides about whatever she or he wants. Society has no role on that. The governments have no role on that. Unless and until it's affecting social order or the freedom of other people, the right of other people, no society, no state, no religion has the right upon people. It's your right and you have to fight for it. And you have to come out with that right by insisting upon it, by arguing for it, and by being vocal. And that is what is happening in the United States. And that is what is happening in many other countries in continuation of what is happening in the United States. So this is a major campaign now taken up by the Amnesty International. Amnesty International has recognized this as a major part of their fight. They have started a new campaign to fight for the right of the individual, which they call My Body, My Rights. That's one of the major campaigns. Big international organizations like Amnesty has taken up. And the Rationalist International has agreed to cooperate with this movement. And we are also taking up this campaign all around the world as part of our campaign. So our rights are to be decided by us. Nobody, no family, no society, no religion has a right upon your body. They can discuss with you. They can talk with you, but it's your right. At the end of the day, you decide for yourself, nobody else. It's your life, and it's your body, it's your choice, and your rights shall prevail. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanal sir. And I think we can proceed to the question answers now. If anybody has a question, they can click on the hand raise tool icon and ask their question once told them to. I would just look in Clubhouse as well.
My first question is, I usually have these kinds of debates with my friends regarding the same issues, like with regards to the rights of women over her body and how abortion should be made up on women's rights and things like that. But there's a question there which they keep asking me, and that is, what if giving birth is safer than actually aborting? Meaning, like, if it comes to a point where our technology is so advanced that giving birth is a much safer option than doing an abortion. What if it comes to that point, or will it ever come to that point? What then will be the...
That's an exceptional situation where somebody wants an abortion. And if, for example, if the doctor, after checking her or checking her particular situation, tries to understand that if she undergo an abortion, that would be life-threatening. Is that the point that you're trying to make? If an abortion would be life-threatening and she wants it, what should one do? Of course, she should be advised by the doctor in such a situation. An appropriate decision is to be made. But at the end of the day, even when there is a surgery required for a person, the medical ethics very clearly insist that the individual has a right to choose not to have the surgery or to have a surgery. It's a person's right. When modern medicine accepts that. If somebody has a heart operation required, but he has to give a consent, or if he cannot give a consent with his mind properly working, the next of kin should have to give a consent, without which you cannot even have a surgery. Here, a person can be advised. The right information can be given, and she can even consult with other doctors or other persons of medical profession, whether this advice is correct or not. But at the end of the day, it's a choice of the individual. And who else can decide about a person's own life than the person herself?
Sir, can I ask one more thing?
Please.
Yeah, I was asking regarding the present scenario, as well as that what if in the future the technology becomes so advanced that there won't be much of a difference between abortion and giving birth? Then do you think that the types of laws, like I think in most democracies that abortion is given as a right to women, but do you think that it will change in the future if technology becomes so advanced and the medical field becomes so advanced that it won't make much of a difference? Do you think that laws will be changed at such a point?
What I presume, which would happen in the future, would be that women would be released of the responsibility to deliver children or carrying, because eventually it could be shifted from a woman, because that would save a lot of human capacities. If that could be moved out of the body, if we could reproduce the next generation without, humans carrying and delivering, and if you could do it more successfully in a different way, that could be a good solution. But these are hypothetical questions. These are imaginative questions, which are not based on the facts that are available at this moment about our life. What would happen in the future? What all good developments we would have in the coming years to come cannot be predicted at this moment. There are many things that may happen, which can be very, very different from our ideas about reproduction at all. For example, if cloning would develop very effectively, or reproduction outside the body and incubators outside the body, if that is better, who would prefer to have a child to be carried in a womb for a long time, in the uterus for a long time? It would be, if it's safer outside, if it's more protected outside, it should be immediately shifted. If that is the best option available, the world will immediately shift to that. But that's all futuristic questions. They're not available at this moment. At this moment, we have to think about what is available at this moment and what is denied at this moment. If I were a woman, I should have the right of my reproductive decisions. If I want a child, I should be able to produce a child. If I don't want a child, nobody should be able to force me to have it. It's my decision to use or exercise my reproductive choices. Nobody else has the right. That's the point. But later, if you have other options, you don't need, a human presence for that. That's a futuristic question. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanal, bringing this subject internationally. In the United States right now, there is lots of riots are going on in different states to stop abortion right of a woman. I want to see Roe versus Wade law is passed in 1973. I don't want the Supreme Court to turn off that privilege to women. So in my state where I live, if this law turn off Roe versus Wade, we will lose the privilege to have an abortion. A woman, if a woman thinks she needs an abortion, she should get that privilege. It's a very easy, very small procedure if it is done by a doctor in his office. This can be done in his office itself. She does not need to be admitted. She can just go there and get it done in few minutes and go home. It's a very little complications with this procedure. It's very easy. We used to get all kind of birth control tablets, also intrauterine devices on the counter. I would say it's all been removed. They are asking for prescriptions. And the state I live is very much restricted. It is kind of a GOP-oriented rules now, because they feel like their majority is going down. So they want to stop the abortion, so they will get the majority. Yesterday also there was a shooting in New York, Buffalo, New York, in Jefferson Street, which is very much established by black people. Black people's population is not going down. The population, I think, as I understand, white people population is going down. This is why they are afraid they lose their majority. They don't consider life for a woman's safety. They just look for political gains and for their majority. So this is why I think President Trump appointed several GOP-leaned judges in the Supreme Court. So that paper is leaked from the Supreme Court. This is why the riots are going on. 5 judges are supporting this, and 4 judges did not sign anything. There are 9 judges now. How fast Mr. Trump, President Trump was hire UOP lead judges. Before even burying a judge, the body was still kept in the morgue. He appointed a judge. He appointed a woman judge who she is leaning towards UOP. This has been going on. It is very sad. I thought the family planning is the one thing saved Indian and Kerala women. Women is not just to have children. You know, a family should be, they have a right to have family planned family. That's what we need. If you can have only one child, that's all you need. You know, you don't need a 2-child or 3-child, and then you may ask me why you are killing some people, you know, fetus. But you know, this is women's right, and we must get that right. If I get a chance to protest, I will protest to support women's rights. But in my state, I think in my country there is protest going on. I haven't gone out yet, but I always will support women's rights to have abortion. This is what I like to say, and also I like to have my all total Indian women's, Kerala women to have a right to have their own abortions when they feel like they need it. It should not be restricted. Thank you.
Thank you for that input. But also I would just like to add one more thing. It's not a question of right of Indian women or women in a certain country, but it's the right of every single woman living anywhere in the world to have absolute control on their reproductive rights. And as you rightly said, it has several aspects. For example, when a family decides, when a person decides to have a child, that has a lot of impact on that person. One major impact is if one has a child, that may be affecting her career. One would lose. You cannot have just a child and leave the child somewhere and go for your work. You have to give attention. You have to see about the upbringing of the child. If that affects your career in the prime time, prime age, when you want to go further forward with your education or your career, a child may not be appropriate at that time. So you should be able to decide when you should have a child. At what time of your profession you need a child. When you're ready, then only you should have a child. And who would decide it? You can, of course, consult with other close people, but at the end of the day, you have to decide it. Secondly, if a person does not have this right, and others have to decide about it, the person's whole future is in jeopardy. There are women in many families who are just treated as reproductive machines. They're producing and producing children every 2 years. And they don't have the ability to do anything else in their life. And thirdly, do we need that number of children? Can we take care of children if there are so many children? If there are less number of children in any given family, the children would get better attention. And societies should be able to handle the requirements if there are less number of people. But why would religious leaders and cult leaders want it? Very simple. They would always imagine that the number of their faithful should keep on increasing. Will this reduce their population? That's one interest. All the other moral arguments are not of that importance to them than their fear or their consideration about their number getting declined or going down. But all around the world, in all developed societies, population is going down because people have this right. But developed countries like the United States, when they want to go back, as you rightly said again, because of this, the last minute decision to have a person addition in the jurisprudence, which makes a majority for major decisions, is now becoming crucial and very important. The verdict is not out, but it's already leaked and it's in the media. And that's why there are protests going on in different parts of the world, in the United States. Well, that's an important thing that these protests are coming up now, and that's spontaneously growing and spreading everywhere. The right of every single woman, in that case, every single individual, to decide about their body, their life, and their reproductive rights whether one should have a child or not, one should have sexuality or not, what kind of life they have. It's their choice. And that's the fundamental crux. Leaving away from that with any kind of laws, anti-abortion laws or anti-gay laws or anti-marriage age laws and all these kind of things, I mean, where you have, or whom you should marry, that the families decide. All these kind of laws where your rights are taken away are to be stopped, are to be addressed, and are to be taken seriously. Thank you very much, Mrs.
One more thing I like to add. Before 1973, 1,000 women were dying in the United States because of the ill-treated abortion.
Illicit.
And in Europe, 1,000 women were dying every year. And this will happen again if they turn over Roe versus Wade laws. Abortion is not going to stop. They will do it in their own bedrooms. And women will die, young women will die. This must be stopped. I don't know what to do to get it in favor of all the people, especially in the United States and India and throughout the world. I'm praying and hoping the Supreme Court will take a right action and don't turn over Roe versus Wade rule, which is passed in 1973. Thank you.
And yes, thank you very much for that. Once again, I would like to remind you one more thing that happened in Ireland some years back. I was traveling at the time in Ireland on a lecture tour. I still remember that one lady who was denied abortion rights, a person of Indian origin who was working there, was pregnant, and she wanted to avoid this abortion because she wanted to go for an abortion, and that was important for her medically also, but the law at that time did not permit her to do that, and in that process, she dies. There was huge public opinion coming up in Ireland at that time, and public opinion matters, and it finally ended up in a referendum, and that stopped this law that would take away the right of abortion. Now abortion is legal in Ireland because of the majority of the people wanted it, and they expressed it in a referendum. In the United States, we cannot expect a referendum because there is no referendum possibility in the US structures, but public opinion would count, and that's why these protests are very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanal. So nice presentation, and I would like to ask the question. It's like you told, in India, abortion is legal. It's legal, but as far as I know, I understand it's like it has to be on medical grounds. So it's not the choice of the person who want to get aborted, but rather it's the choice of a doctor whether an abortion has to be done or not. So I think it's not right in the direction which you are trying to promote. That is my body, my choice, and my right. So rather than, so it's a choice of the doctor. So are you planning for some kind of movement to make it more legal, like the choice or a free abortion? Anybody can go in and get an abortion kind of thing. Decisions can be made by a person. Is there any movement, something like that happening?
Abortion anyway is legal in India, and you have a right for abortion, is what I understand. I have this information. The MTP Amendment Bill to 2020, which was passed by Lok Sabha on 17 March 2020. A year later, the bill was placed in Rajya Sabha and was passed. And it says, the marriage clause is dropped now. The MTP Act earlier permitted termination of pregnancy only by a married woman in the case of failure of contraceptive method or device. With the now recent amendment, unmarried women can now seek safe abortion services on ground of contraceptive failure. That's the new law. That's passed in 2020 March. That's the latest law in India. Moreover, the amendment mandates a constitution of medical boards in all the states and union territories for diagnosing substantial fetal anomalies. Now, MTP Rules 2020 also says, the new rules as per the amendments were announced by the government on October 12th, and these are the conditions. A gestation period, upper limit of termination of pregnancy with one doctor's opinion has been extended from 12 weeks to 20 weeks, with the rule being expanded to include unmarried women as well as. If you are unmarried also, you can have abortion. The gestation period, upper limit of termination of pregnancy with two doctors' opinion has been extended to 20 weeks to 24 weeks for the following special categories: survivors of sexual assault, Even up to 24 weeks, you can do it, with 2 doctors saying. And if you're a minor, change of marital status during the pregnancy, women with physical disabilities, mentally ill women, the fetal anomalies that have substantial risk of being incompatible with life, women with pregnancy in humanitarian settings or disaster, up to 24 weeks. So, role of the medical board. It has to examine the woman on her reports, approve or deny the request of termination within 3 days of receiving is compulsory. And there is no necessity of permission from other people, whether you have to be married or not. I mean, if you simply say that contraception fails, that would be enough. As per the new law.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. Because the final decision is on the doctor. It's on medical grounds only they can, even if you are claiming.
No, that's not correct. That's not correct, Mount. The new law very clearly says that if the person claims contraception means if you have used condoms and it failed, that's a failure of contraception. You wanted to stop the pregnancy, but it failed. You have few safety days, it failed. That's an effort of contraception. If it fails, you can claim for a pregnancy, and you're right, in India in 2021 onwards. If contraception fails, you have a right to claim. After 24 weeks, of course, you need 2 doctors, permission. There it is post 20 weeks. Normally, after 20 weeks, 12 weeks, that within 3 months, you can simply walk in and claim that your contraception failed and you want it. Nobody can stop it. But after 20 weeks also, it's possible, provided one doctor certifies. After 24 weeks, it's possible if 2 doctors certify.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done with all the questions. So thank you everybody for joining, and thank you everybody for listening to this very awakening and something which is common, but it should be talked about more. And so thank you for staying by, and thank you, sir, for explaining it really well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the listening group of people that we have here. And we will continue these sessions, and next week again, we'll meet with a new topic. Thank you very much.